Welcome to the information session on applying for accommodation on campus for the academic year 23-24 with me, Angelina, from the Disability Service. So what are we going to look at today? We're going to look at how to apply for on-campus accommodation. We're going to look at the special considerations form. We're going to look at the evidence of disability and the need for that. I'm going to briefly talk about an accommodation bursary. I have then shared with you guys a few useful links that will help you in applying for accommodation on campus. And then the final section of the student experience will not be recorded. So applications are now open. They opened on February 6th and will remain open until March 3rd. Late applications won't be accepted by the accommodations office. So the on-campus locations for accommodation include Front Square, New Square, Printing House Square, Botany Bay, Goldsmith Hall, the Business School, and there are a few locations on Pierce Street. Steps to make an application through special considerations. Special considerations is the application route for those with disabilities. So the first step is to create an accommodation account. If you've applied for accommodation previously, and that can include Cavanagh Court, Trinity Hall, you may already have an account. If you do, great, you can go ahead and log in and apply for a room. If you don't, it's very simple. It's just Trinity verifying that you are a current Trinity student. There's a step-by-step guide on how to create an account if you need it. I have the link saved to that in the useful link section of this presentation. And the step-by-step guide also explains how to log in and apply for a room. It's a really helpful tool to have open next to you as you're completing the application, just so that you know that you're completing everything appropriately. You might notice that the link for the step-by-step guide is dated January 2020. Don't worry about it. I've checked with the accommodation office and they said that is the most up-to-date application guide. The application process has not changed since then, so that's why it has that date, but it's not an out-of-date process. It is exactly the same as how you would apply for a room today. So you can go ahead and look at that when you're applying for a room. While applying for a room, you will be asked to write a personal statement. This is where it's important to state that you're applying through special considerations on the grounds of disability and explaining why a room on campus would be beneficial to you in relation to your disability. Once you complete the online application and press submit, there's one more step that you need to do. You need to download the special considerations form, complete it and email it to the accommodation office at the email address on the screen. This is the very important step that you need to do to apply on the grounds of disability. The form will give you another chance to explain why, as a result of the impact of your disability, that an on-campus location would be best for you for accommodation for the year 23-24. Applying for a room versus special considerations. So you can apply for a room without including the special considerations form. In that case, your disability will not be considered as part of your application and you will be entered into a lottery system for a room on campus with all other student applications. Special considerations, on the other hand, allows disabled students to explain why, as a result of the impact of their disability, that a room on campus would be most beneficial to them. What happens after this, once all special considerations have been submitted and the accommodation office has a full list of students who have applied for a room for 23-24, they share the special considerations applications with the Disability Service to help review those for on-campus accommodation. It's important to note that just because you're applying through special considerations, it does not guarantee that you will get a room. It is subject to availability at the end of the day. Evidence of disability. So if you're currently registered with the Disability Service, you do not need to submit evidence of disability with your application. If you're not registered with the Disability Service and you want to be considered through special considerations as a result of a disability, when you're emailing your special considerations form to the accommodation office, you must include evidence of disability. For those registered with us that don't need to send their documents, there is a section on the application form where you can give consent to the Disability Service to review the documentation that you have on record, and that's so that you don't have to email a copy of your evidence of disability with your application as well. The accommodation bursary for the year 23-24. So this will open at the beginning of the next academic year, and it will be open to those who receive an offer through special considerations for on-campus accommodation and who are in financial need. So if you've completed the process that we've just discussed on how to apply for a room, and if in the summertime you receive an email from the accommodation office stating that you've been offered a room through special considerations, and you accept that room, and if you're also in financial need, you can apply for this bursary. What I mean by in financial need, you need to be under a particular income threshold. More information on that income threshold, the exact start and end dates for the application process, the supporting documentation that you might need to submit, all of those finer details will be discussed at an information session later on in the summer. And the reason that we're doing that is we want to open up this bursary to incoming first year students. So we need to know for the next academic year which first year students have been offered a place on a course in Trinity and who have been offered a room through special considerations with Trinity. So once we have that information, we'll be able to open the application process up for students to apply. It's important to note that the bursary will not cover the full cost of your accommodation for the year 23-24, but it will contribute to you paying the cost of accommodation for the full year 23-24. And the useful links section. So these are just a couple of links that you'll find beneficial when you're completing an application. So the first one there talks about on-campus accommodation. It tells you what it's about, what it's like, how to apply, all of those general details. The second one there, residence information, will tell you about specific places on campus, their rates, all of that information. The third link there is the step-by-step guide that I was talking about on how to create an account and how to log in and apply for a room online. It goes step by step through that, and as you can see, it's dated January 2020, but don't be worried. It's the most up-to-date version on how to apply for a room. And then the last link there is one of our disability service web pages. It talks about applying through special considerations, and it talks about the accommodation bursary as well, and it briefly indicates what type of documentation that you might need to upload for that accommodation, or for that application for the accommodation bursary. But any questions and things like that we can discuss at the information session later on in the summer. So now we will have a student share her experience of on-campus accommodation and of receiving the accommodation bursary, but this part is not going to be recorded, so I'm just going to skip over that for the moment. And that's the end of the presentation. So thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at askds@tcd.ie. Thanks. Bye.